Hey guys, this is Yixue. This month's video is very special because I'm on safari in Zambia in Africa. If you don't believe me, check this out. Can you see? There's also impalas there. And this is a super cool tent. And it's even cooler inside. Let me show you before I talk about this month's video. There's a very big bathtub, and you can take outdoor showers with this view. This is not a travel vlog. I just want to show you this is super cool. This is inside of the tent. I like their decoration, it's pretty cool. The bed. Here's the porch. And you get this super nice view. I hope you enjoyed it. Oops. So consider it my souvenir to you, to my dear friends who watch this video. And throughout this video, I'll probably throw in some footages of what I shoot of the wildlife and the very, very beautiful landscape here in Zambia. That's also my gift for you. But this is not a travel vlog.
Flat dogs.
Wow. If you are new to my channel, welcome. So every month I have a new video of my teachings, and there's also podcast happiness buffet, live stream to meditate with me, and also short videos that happen spontaneous. So we'll see. It's a super laid back channel, and I'm so happy to see you here. And this month is very special because this safari trip in Zambia that triggered a lot of thought. So I'm thinking, maybe it's a good time to talk about the meaning crisis that I'm seeing. It's really increasing, and from the conversations in my Euro circles around me, and I'm really witnessing an increase of the meaning crisis. So I want to talk about my personal journey, how I overcame that. I have no meaning crisis whatsoever, but I used to. So I want to talk about how and why I left academia, but I'm still continuing to do research on AI and mental health, and now might actually protect wildlife as well. Because of this safari trip, I met amazing people here. This video is for the select few who already live a comfortable life by the society's standards, with a good job, good house, good family, but still don't feel fulfilled and happy. It's supposed to be happy when I have this much money, when I have a beautiful house, when I blah blah blah. You can fill in the blank, but why I'm still not happy? Right? That's a meaning crisis we're seeing all around us happening more rapidly than before, especially in the age of AI. If you have that deep down, still don't feel fulfilled although you live a comfortable life, this video might be for you, and I hope you can maybe find something interesting and inspiring from my story on how I overcame this. It's a very nice topic because I see people here definitely are more poor than in the United States compared to even the average person, but they are a lot happier here. I also asked if they have phone addiction to short videos. They don't, and they really enjoy their job. Like our guide, I asked him what did he do in his spare time when he's not guiding the safaris. He said he watch wildlife documentaries. And his wife is mad at him sometimes because he's so into the wildlife and the animals. Then I said, wow, you must love your job. And you can see their passion and the meaning and how fulfilled they feel. That really makes me question, what does progress really mean, right? You can consider them not making enough progress, quote unquote, but the life here, the quality of life in terms of the inner peace and fulfillment seems pretty nice. So I thought this is a very good topic to discuss and hopefully offer some hope for people who are searching for meaning. Maybe it can give you some good ideas on what you want to do with your life. Life is really beautiful and supposed to be enjoyed. So yeah, I hope you find your meaning, and I'll share my story to see how I got here. There are many sacrifices along the way, I have to say, but I just don't want to live a life that feels like a script or template, and I'm a lot happier than before. Let us begin. I will first talk about the 3 types of meaning crisis that's most common nowadays, and you can see if this video is for you. And then I will share my story of how I went through the whole meaning crisis in my PhD, and even a few mental breakdowns. Super sad to think about it, but anyway, I overcame. And preparing for tenure track professor position in academia, as it was advertised that there's a lot of freedom in academia and you can do meaningful and impactful work. But eventually I realized that was not true, and I quit academia in my postdoc and took a sharp turn in my career to pursue my dream. And I voluntarily asked for a pay cut by a half, and eventually I was laid off last year and have been unemployed for over a year now. From an outsider's view, this might be a very sad story that I'm going downhill, but from an insider's view, my life is full of meaning and I'm so much happier than before. And this video is for the select few, and I hope it can inspire you to live a life that's not based on the society's standards or mimic anyone else's life, but to live a life that's on your own terms. I won't sugarcoat things, as it comes with great sacrifices that you have to be willing to make, but it's a trade-off for you to decide. If you don't think for yourself, other people will think for you. So choose wisely. Alright. Let's look at 3 most common meaning crises that I see in today's world. The first one is what I call the burned out hamsters. This is really common. You're burned out from your work, working for other people. Personally, I really don't mind working hard, but what I do mind is working my ass off for someone else's dream while sacrificing my personal mental health and well-being. So this first category needs no explanation, and we're all very familiar with it. I want to question you if you have a choice or not. Again, this video is not to tell you what to do, but to ask you questions for you to figure out what kind of life do you want to live. Sometimes it's necessary to go through the hamster wheel for some period of time to achieve some short-term goals for you, to unlock certain paths for you, and it's totally fine. But my question for you is, how long do you plan on doing that? Because if you don't think about it and you go on autopilot, you don't schedule your priorities in your life, it's very easy to go through inertia in your life, and before you know it, you might already be in your 60s and wondering what have you done with your life. So we want to avoid that to happen. We don't want you to live a life full of regrets. So I'm just asking you these reflective questions for you to think about this and live a life on your own terms. The second category is the game clearers. This is very interesting. These are the people who have beaten the game, the money game or fame game or power game. And by the way, beating the game has a very soft threshold, as it means different things for different people. For some people, maybe finishing a PhD is already beating the game because that's the highest degree. And for some people, maybe they have to win the Nobel Prize for them to feel they have beaten the game for reputation. And money-wise, for some people, maybe 6-figure, they already feel, wow, I have accomplished a lot. And for some people, they never feel satisfied even when they are a billionaire. So this category is you already feel comfortable with what you have accomplished, which is your goal in the beginning, that you think, when I reach a certain goal, I will be happy ever after, blah, blah, blah. But when you are there at the finish line of this game that you thought you want to beat and will be happy ever after, only to realize, wait, what? I'm supposed to be happy, but I'm not. because you were told that after accomplishing this and that, you're supposed to feel this way, this is the right way to go, blah, blah, blah. But your experience is your best teacher and can tell you whether that's true or not. This category is my personal favorite because it's so interesting with so many examples, very extreme examples, even in celebrities and billionaires who have already beaten so many games but still don't feel fulfilled. And in fact, many people actually start wondering about the meaning of life after they have beaten the game, which is a modern luxury if you think about it. If you're going through the meaning crisis, that means you have already went through the survival mode and you don't have to worry immediately how to put food on your table, compared to a lot of people in the world who are still going through wars and poverty, even no clean water. So in a way, instead of feeling the crisis so big in your head, we should at least feel some gratitude towards this modern luxury situation. It's really a luxury problem to solve. And the third category, which is increasing rapidly in the age of AI, is the obsolete club. Because I'm a researcher, so I see this most often in the research field, where people, especially because my field is computer science, that's very related to AI. So many people's career is built on a certain research topic, maybe even for decades, but suddenly AI, LLM, large language models come in and they can do their job much better than before. So even my friend, their papers at a very top conference that got published last year is already obsolete just because how good AI is getting now. What can you do? So this is a big meaning crisis for people whose main expertise is challenged by AI. But that's not unique to the age of AI. This happens all the time when technology evolves or even the evolution happens, our environment and the world changes. You must adapt to the current situation, right? Let's say even some people's expertise in investing strategies will also be obsolete due to different conditions happening in the world, because the world changes fast and we must adapt. So this is just more amplified by the age of AI, since things are changing even faster than before.
They maintain the lighter modern coloration, but it's a younger one. So this is, there's even another one there. There's another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's start with my PhD, because before that I grew up in China and it's just all about the study. And it's a typical story of trying to get good grades in good schools, then good college, and working really hard in my studies so that I can get into a program in the United States, which I did. So I ended up at USC, University of Southern California in LA. I joined the PhD program in computer science in 2014. And little did I know I was completely crashed after I came to the States. As someone who's always a top student, suddenly I sucked so much. I couldn't even speak English and understood my professor's lectures. Everything was very difficult, and it took me 3 years to even find my research topic. That's a very long time, and at the end of my 3rd year is the first time I submit my very first paper at a top conference. And my peers, they all have maybe 2 or 3 publications in top conferences at that time. So my self-esteem is really the lowest at that time. So I was really desperate, and I also thought about quitting my PhD a lot. Even my family was supportive of me if I really decided to quit the program and came back to China. But luckily, my first paper got accepted, and I was super excited. That was accepted at a top 1 flagship conference in software engineering called Paloma. It's about using program analysis to speed up your phones. So at that time, I was super excited, and I remember I was always passionate to share share my research topic with people until I met an undergraduate at USC because he was helping me with my English pronunciations and stuff. I was taking the pronunciation class because my English still wasn't that great. And this undergraduate his major is not the computer science, and he looked at my research in a very different lens. He simply said, you know, you are making the phone faster, but there are so many people who couldn't even afford a phone. That moment just really shocked me. That was really a wake-up call, and I'm like, oh wow, I feel I'm so narrow-minded in pursuing my research topic without really thinking about what are the most important problems in this world. So that was a seed that was planted. But as you know, PhD program is full of stress and it's not easy to change topic. So I kept going. Luckily, my second paper got accepted pretty fast after that. So I was like on a rise, like a rising star. So all these good achievements made me kind of happy about the situation. But deep down, when I hear things like the hate speech, some big issues around the world happened, I always had this meaning crisis. I felt I was not doing what's most important to this world. And I always wanted to switch a research topic, trying to make it still relevant to my dissertation. Because the PhD dissertation has to be a coherent story of all your publications, so you cannot do random topics at a time. You're supposed to go really deep in one topic. But still, I was not very fulfilled, and I took more than 20 non-computer science classes to prepare me for different, more important and impactful topics for society later on, because I was told that there's a lot of freedom in academia and I can work on whatever I want once I get my tenure. So I was working towards that goal, to play by the books and trying to hit the publication goal and all the awards and blah blah blah, which I actually did. I had very good track record in software engineering in preparation for a tenure track position as a professor. I got Microsoft Research Dissertation Grant and also won the Computer Innovation Fellow by National Science Foundation and the Computer Research Association. So that one is actually very difficult to get in. I believe that year in 2020, there's only 59 students who got selected across the entire country. I didn't expect me to be selected because I know the priorities were given to US citizens, but luckily I did. That was an award to work on whatever topic you want in your postdoc. I picked a postdoc mentor from UMass Amherst and wrote down a very different topic that I wanted to solve. That's a real problem, which is fighting reviewer number 2. For those in academia who would understand, the paper review process can be quite random sometimes, and some review quality is really bad. That makes your paper's fate of being accepted or not quite random in some cases.
Looks like expecting it. Because of now, look at the size of the tummy. Hey baby, you can come here. Look at the tummy. What you think?
There's another moment I still remember. That's when I realized I'm not alone in the meaning crisis. Even famous professors go through that as well. It's when I was at a conference and a very senior professor working in a similar area as me in mobile applications said something that I still remember. He said, "Sometimes I wonder how meaningful our work is in mobile apps because we all work on Android mostly in research. Since it's open source, it's much easier to do research. But at the end of the day, so many researchers work on Android system. But is Android really better than iOS? We don't really see a tangible impact of our work in the real world. And I realized even very successful professors ponder the same question as well. And that is after tenure. Way after tenure, that I was told you're supposed to be able to work on whatever you want, however you want, which is not true because there's so many constraints in academia, which I will not get into in this video. But the more you know, the more informed decision you can make. So what do I do? That was another seed planted in my heart that contributed to my meaning crisis. And then there's another distinct moment that really changed my life, which is a major mental breakdown when I was working on a paper deadline. It was so bad that I literally was crying while writing the paper on the last day before the deadline, and we were expected to pull all-nighters when working on a paper deadline. I remember I had a big cold brew next to me and Kleenex to wipe my tears and my running nose, and still have to work on the paper. And maybe every 20 minutes or so, I went to my boyfriend to cry just for some comfort. And then maybe only after a minute, I need to work on my paper. Then I went back. That was very tragic to me. And I think I was really traumatized after that experience because I actually successfully submitted the paper, which is considered to be a success, right? But my mental state was really low after that. And what really shocked me is right after the deadline, that week, I got a very prestigious award from Microsoft Research. And everybody was congratulating me, but I didn't feel a thing. We went out to celebrate for dinner, but I just wasn't happy. That's when I realized something in me was broken by that traumatic experience of submitting that paper. I just could no longer feel joy and happiness for quite a while. So that's when I made a big determination that set my life to autopilot on a different path instead of optimizing for achievements. I decided from now on, I am going to prioritize my well-being over anything else. It's a small decision, but that's guiding my later actions in my life, which made a huge difference. Later on, I went through therapy, read so many self-help books, took courses about the science of happiness and well-being, trained my mind, meditated for a long time, went to meditation retreat every year. I call it my suffering vaccine, and every year I go back to the retreat to get a happiness booster because the effect wears off. But I have to go because my priority is my happiness and well-being. So gradually, it really changes little by little, and I'm a lot happier than before. And it's only when you can take care of yourself, you can take care of others. When I'm happy, I'm no longer in survivor's mode. I can actually think about how can I help with the world, and I genuinely will be more kind to other people and want to help more. It's a very positive cycle. So I realized since I always want to change research topic to something bigger and meaningful, I even told my advisor I don't want to improve mobile app quality anymore. I want to improve human quality. And I took so many non-computer science classes like psychology, sociology, whatever, hoping I can find some topic, but it just wasn't realistic in my PhD since I had to graduate with a coherent topic. But through my own experience, I realized I want to switch to mental health. Because if people are happy, they're not gonna do hate speech. And there's so many crimes that's just gonna be gone. And I think that is actually a very, very important problem to solve at the root that can naturally make a lot of problems go away. So finally, I'm happy with the topic I want to do for life. But it's very difficult. If I want to be a tenure track professor, I cannot write a research statement on mental health with zero track record. And if I wait after my tenure, then that's a sunk cost for me to work on my older topics instead of trying to really help with the world to see what I can do with mental health and happiness. So I tried to apply for some mental health researcher positions. I even asked if I can just be an intern at Microsoft Research Group of Human Understanding, but they told me no, because I'm overqualified and I cannot even lower my standard for a lower position. That's how much I want to do this work, but it's just officially impossible to lower my position after you already have a PhD. But luckily, I got into this CAI Fellow program, which is a Computer Innovation Fellow awarded by National Science Foundation and Computing Research Association. So that's a flexible postdoc award that gives you funding to work on whatever topic you want. That buys me some time to figure out what I want to do. Ooh, he's coming. In my postdoc, I made friends with other assistant professors, and I realized how sausages are made when you are an assistant professor, because it's very different from a PhD student's life in academia. And also my meditation went much deeper through the meditation retreat experience. There were some major opening and awakening moments that's irreversible. So I just couldn't give a shit anymore to not follow what my heart tells me to do. So I don't want to have the sunk cost of not working on what I want and wait until I have tenure. So I started looking into different career options for computer science PhDs. And I did extensive search and wrote a very, very long blog post about 10 job opportunities for people after they get their PhD in computer science. Another reason I decided to leave academia is because it can be really, really hectic and people can be constantly in survivor mode. And when you are in the survivor mode, you can be mean to other people. Some emails people send are super short or super mean. And I also realized when I'm super busy with deadlines, my emails are also more mean, such as when I give feedback for other students' work, just because I don't have time to really articulate in a kind way. It takes some time and effort, right? And I don't want to be turned into a mean person. Also, the evaluation metrics do not align with my values, then why would I try to reach the goals that someone else set for this job that is not my personal goals in this life? For example, I got advice from senior professors saying you should spend at most 24 hours to prepare for your lectures because research is the most important thing. But I think about all the students in the classroom. I just did not like this advice at all because I love teaching. And I think it has a real impact on students' lives in the classroom. And I got advice that you should limit your time to prepare for lectures. And that just does not align with my personality. And I realized if I want to both give very good lectures and do research and meet all the expectations while being a kind person, it is impossible in academia. Maybe some people can do it, I don't know, but not for me and not for most people. So you have to make some sacrifices. And it has become very clear to me in my second retreat that although I prepared for academia for years, I even started a Facebook group years before I was supposed to be on the job market called Academia Job Hunters to prepare for it and sharing resources. But eventually, I never went on the academic job market, and it was the right decision for me.
The way it to retain
I was like, this doesn't seem right.
Oh, what is this hippo doing?
Yeah.
During my retreat in 2022, I got an email from USC ISI Information Sciences Institute based in Arlington about a job opportunity as a research scientist. Although my PhD was in USC, but I didn't know there's actually a location in Arlington, and I honestly had no idea what that thing was, and I didn't even take it seriously. But because at that time my husband got a job offer and most of his teammates are based in Arlington, so he's expected to relocate to Arlington soon actually. So he just said, take the interview. So I blindly took the interview without knowing what that job responsibility actually is. At that time, I was also interviewing at Apple, and I already got the verbal offer, so I was waiting for the written offer from Apple, and I was pretty sure I would take the offer from Apple because that's gonna be a lot of money, and I was thinking it's a good idea to accumulate some money early on to really help me do whatever I want, because it's very difficult to take a sharp turn in your career, especially if you have a PhD and a postdoc, because the deeper you go into something, the more difficult it is to switch. People all want to hire you for your expertise that you are so good at, and it actually makes switching a lot harder than if you only have an undergraduate degree, for example. But don't you think it's really wild? I didn't know this at all when I started my PhD. When I picked a research topic, nobody told me this might be a topic you need to work on for the rest of your life, or at least until you get a tenure. It's so wild because I found a random topic that I actually really liked at the time, but out of desperation. Because remember, it took me 3 years to find a topic, so at that point, like anything goes. I was so desperate to even find a research topic that I can work on. I wasn't thinking much about, am I committed to this? Is this impactful or whatever? But then suddenly, if you want to stay in academia, you have to use that as your vehicle to do your job talk and write a research statement about, then stick to it because that's your expertise and people hire you for that. And it just becomes very difficult to switch. Then I often wonder how many people in academia are working on what they truly love. How did they pick their topic in the first place? Did they know they might be working on this topic for a substantial period of time until they actually have the freedom to switch? But what if your interests change, right? And this is not unique to academia, same for your job in anything. What if your interests change? Our society really rewards specialty, and for someone who's a generalist who loves a lot of things, it's actually super difficult to find a job when your interests can continuously change on different things. Although you know you can pick stuff up and learn very fast for new topics, but it's very hard to demonstrate and get a job. So yeah, it's up to you on whether you want to play by the rules or live a life on your own terms with a lot of difficulties. That's not straightforward, but you can always figure it out, and it's very fulfilling to do because you're literally creating your life that you've never seen before from other people. Because I wasn't taking it that seriously, so I was just really being myself when giving the job talk. I think there was like 5 people, including the CEO, who asked about my dream. Oh my God, you know I'm a super big picture person and I love talking about my dreams. And I just cannot believe in an interview I was asked about my dream, which is my favorite thing to talk about because most interviews I went through, they only care about the technical skills you have. Can you deliver and can you do their work for you, right? Which is important, but for motivation, I think it's very important to understand each other's motivation, what drives them, outcome and whether the values align to be in the same team. That's why I always like to make sure I understand my collaborators' motivations, and I only collaborate in win-win situations because it's way more effortless that way and everybody is happy. So I told them my dream was to work on mental health and give a whole spiel of why it's important and why I really want to do that. And believe it or not, ISI gave me 20% of my time to pursue mental health research, although I have zero track record to show I can do that. I have no papers about mental health at all at that time. And they told me consider this a promotion on day one. So I was super grateful and I loved this job and I loved the people, so happy, and immediately decided to take the offer and look no further. A lot of people didn't understand why I made this decision when I'm likely to become a tenure track professor at a top school. And my postdoc advisor even thought that was a very bad idea and it's a big step down for me. But I know what I want in my life. I don't want to live other people's lives based on their standards. So I quit my postdoc and ended my fellowship early to go to this job. And I suddenly realized people are way nicer at work than when I was in academia. So I feel it kind of confirmed my hypothesis in my own experience. When I'm in survivor mode constantly, I simply don't have the capacity to be more kind to other people. So I was very happy and started working on mental health. And now you can see I finally have a lot of mental health publications as well. Now I'm organizing a pioneer workshop on AI and mental health called Harmony, and it will be in Pittsburgh in August. I'll drop a link down below. Hello. Ooh. Preparing. My life at ISI was actually really nice, and I got to work on mental health, and I found very interdisciplinary collaborators to work on that and wrote proposals about. But as I said, it's very difficult for a new topic with no track record. As the PI, the principal investigator on the grant, I got rejected on all the grants I submitted to, including seed fundings, which I only asked for very little money. And I think our team is quite strong, but maybe the lead PI is not strong enough because I have no track record to show I'm an expert in mental health at that time. But now I think I have about 8 papers on mental health, so I can finally say I'm a mental health researcher. So since I didn't have any funding on mental health, I was working on projects that my manager's proposal got funded with, which is a project with NASA on spaceships. I worked on the fault tolerance, which is actually a cool technique for my fellow nerds. I was working on porting Creo, which is a checkpoint rollback system to RISC-V architecture for the next generation processors for NASA's spaceships, because they were using the older ones that's not taking advantage of the modern technology. So checkpoint rollback just means when your system fails, it can roll back to the previous state that was normal. Because when the system is running, you take a different checkpoint, which is like a snapshot of the entire system, including all its states, and you save all those information. Then as the system continues to run, it failed, and you saved the previous healthy states, right? Then you can roll back to a previous healthy state and continue going. Maybe that's more information that you need to know, but it's a cool tech, and I can be very technical and hardcore if need to. It was a very difficult project, but I made it work and successfully ported that to work on RISC-V architecture. That's where I spent most of my time at ISI as a developer, and I was not completely satisfied because I really hope I could spend more time on mental health. And in 2024, our project with NASA suddenly got cut, so I have no funding to support me, and my manager told me he was gonna switch me to another DARPA project for 100% of my time because there were some federal funding problems. For people who are in academia, you know the situation and all the challenges with the federal funding. There's not enough funding to pay me the 20% to work on mental health that was originally paid by my institute, not any particular funding. So because of the difficulty in funding situation, nobody can be supported for free by the institute anymore. It all has to be supported by a particular project's funding from the outside. So when I heard I have to work 100% on a new project with no time on mental health, I was really sad for a week. Then I started talking to other colleagues at ISI and think about my future. I thought about just converting to part-time so that I can work on mental health for free by sacrificing my income. It was not advised or recommended by my manager or some colleagues, but one colleague at that time highly recommended me to pursue my dream. Talking to him really made everything clear that I'm too far on this journey to pursue my dream, and it's just too difficult for me to give it up at that time. So I went all in. I went to 50% because that's the lowest I can go to still maintain my job. So from November 2024, I cut my pay in half to work on mental health projects for free, hoping to get the funding on mental health to support myself. Although I was warned this may lead to my layoff if there's not enough funding, as my contribution is only 50% to the institute. I took the risk, I accepted that, and lo and behold, in April 2025, I was laid off. That was somewhat expected, but still I was very devastated at first, but eventually overcame.
Group of zebras is called.
All about the babies.
It's so cute.
It's so small. What?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, what? I've been living a free spirit life / unemployed life for over a year now, and always listening to my heart on what I want to do, and it led to many wonderful opportunities in my life that I really enjoy doing these days, such as making videos on meditation, which I would say is the biggest factor that really changed my entire mindset to live a life that's really true to myself, figure everything out on my own, and create a life on my own terms. So in retrospect, the meaning crisis, in my opinion, is very simple to solve, but it's really just a trade-off and priority problems on how much you want it versus how much you can tolerate the uncertainties in your life. Since when searching for the meaning of your life, there's no template. You have to figure it out on your own. And the easy way out is to get distracted or just bury yourself in your work without thinking about it until a point that you can't take it anymore, that your heart is screaming loudly inside. That's when you can no longer ignore. So if you haven't reached that point, I think it's totally fine. It's just a natural process. But for me, when I know deep down that I can no longer not pursue my dream, and I'm treating my life as an experiment to say how far I can go with this, I'm still not successful yet, but I'm a lot happier than before, and my life is full of meaning and exciting things. Every day I can be guided by what makes my heart sing. So I'm so grateful, and I think it's such a bliss. But I'm sacrificing money, I'm sacrificing fame and reputation, since being a professor is a very well-respected job, right? And now I'm just a nobody, doing a lot of random things, like making videos, writing blog posts, doing research on AI and mental health. And the society does not reward people who spread out as a generalist, but on very specific things when you have a label. But what if I don't want to have a label? What if I don't want to be trapped in a box? What if I want to do so many things to fully embrace my life? There's no template, but there's ways to train your mind so that you always know the answer. That is why I started teaching meditation, because that gives you a North Star whenever you have a problem or decision to make. Just by quieting down and tuning inward, you will just know the answer so clearly. You're full of clarity, and how can you now be productive when every day it's so clear on what you need to do, what you need to say? It took me years to see the tangible results. Although it's gradual, the more you practice, the more results you see, and at some point it will be a major leap, and then another major leap. It's irreversible. So anyway, I just want to share my personal journey with you in live action as an experiment to show what are the challenges I face, what are the decisions I made, what are the sacrifices I had to make, and how my mental state is while pursuing this kind of untraditional path. In my next video, I will share my reflection for the year 1 of my unemployment journey after my layoff last year, and what I decided to do as an experiment for year 2. So stay tuned. Hope that can inspire you to take some actions to live a life that you truly deserve and enjoy. May love and peace always be with you. See you next time. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed the footage from Zambia. Spoiler alert, I'll be running a safari meditation retreat in Zambia, so stay tuned.